back to Wisdom with the Wise Counselor. Listen, family, I have missed you. I have not dropped an episode in about a week, but your boy needed to take a little bit of time off to truly relax and refresh and just to get refocused. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. And if you didn't know, I work in the field of education for like the district office and do things with communication and kind of PR and just celebrating and telling our story of our school district. And I love it, right? But the truth is, as we go into the end of any summer, and I'm sure everybody in education can empathize and know what I'm talking about, it's not the fact that you don't love what you do, but at the end of the day, baby, I don't know anybody who is satisfied and just thriving and just adamant that they want to go to work each and every day. So I'm just, this episode is a little bit of encouragement for myself as my summer begins to really dwindle. It's not saying that I don't love what I do. Well, let's be real. No, I do love what I do, but I don't love working. Can we be honest about it, right? Like, if I could find a way to live happily, impact lives, and make money with everything in the way that I envision it without having to be worried about deadlines and other people's expectations and representing a brand that I don't necessarily die for, but I will stand up and fight for, I would be happy. But that's not my reality, That's not the reality of many people, including business owners, like self-employed people. There's so many loopholes and so many things that you have to yield to in the world of work. And that really is the inspiration kind of for this episode, which I definitely think I'm going to kind of evolve into a series. And I started thinking about a series because I started earlier this summer, I started a series about current events and news. And I was going to record that today because I heard, unfortunately, that Malcolm Jamal Warner, you might know him, he was Theodore Huxtable on the classic, iconic Cosby Show, that it's reports that he's potentially died. I did not want to get into that because I want to verify that information with at least another day's worth of information, because everything that I've seen has only come from entertainment news sources, and I want to honor him and make sure that we are telling the story that needs to be told. So I want a little bit more information on that. So I said, well, why don't I dive into this next podcast episode about the world of work? So I'm going to be diving into this throughout many, many, many episodes here and there. And it's going to be all about the classic theme of working. And as I kind of sat here and thought about the audience or who this was kind of targeted towards, I think it's going to be applicable to everybody. Of course, as with any episode that I do, maybe what I'm saying gels with you and maybe it doesn't. But, I encourage you to stick along the ride, because no matter if you're, taking away 90% of what I'm saying and can apply it to you, or if it's only 10% of what I'm saying and that only applies to you, I have to remind you that growth in your perception and your perspective is still growth. And so if I can help usher in new thought processes or new visions or new perspectives, then my mission is accomplished. And so I want everybody to enjoy this podcast, but I'm going to be kind of specifically talking to my kind of late Gen Zers, people who might be like 21 right now, 22. And then I'm going to go early millennials. And so that would be people in their mid 30s, early not early 40s. That's a little too old, although those are millennials. So let's go like 22 to 35. That's going to be kind of this target audience, because right now that is a large percentage of the workforce, right? And I don't know about you, but I know my journey and my testimony. I've been working professionally since I was 14 years old. And so, you know, I've seen the generations that are represented in many different arenas. Right now, like I said, I work in the field of education, and there's so many generations that I get to interact with each and every day. But even when I started working early on as a guest services manager back in my early 20s, I was working with kids that were 14. I started working at the same place that I had became a general manager for. And so I was working with people from age 14 up to like 70. And that was back when I was 20 years old. So you can imagine how much more every industry has grown in its age of diversity, if you will, how much more diversity exists in all industries with the age gap that exists. You know, so many more people are living longer. To God be the glory. But the reality is money can only take you so far. You know, like the guaranteed comfort of knowing that when you retire that you're set. Unfortunately, that does not exist in 2025 like it used to, you know. So that the repercussion of that is that people are working longer and working and doing something that you can tolerate. I'm not going to again go into that arena of saying that you have to love what you're doing, but working in a space that you can tolerate, that's clearly not taking away from your health and not driving you to the brink of insanity, is actually going to be healthier for people. I've seen it in my own life. People that I know who have retired, and unfortunately they did not have a plan, and they are now kind of floating. And that can get you into a very dangerous spot mentally and even physically, because we are creatures of habit. And when you stop working, especially if you have been working for so long, of so much of your lifetime, you have to re-identify, you have to reacclimate yourself to who you are outside of working for somebody or doing something for so long. And I can tell you, rebirthing your personality, rebirthing who you are, restepping and reclaiming your new identity can be very challenging. And so, again, I say all of that to say I've worked with people from teenagers up to people who are up to 70 years old who are still working. And so it's been a real blessing to see that. In fact, my mom is 72. And she's still working. This should be the year that she's retiring. If you hear me on this podcast, Mother, I'm holding you to your word. I know my mom was supposed to retire back when COVID happened. And fortunately, she liked what she was doing, and the people are great. And she just hung on a little longer because everybody went remote, and she wasn't stressed out, and she wanted to live this experience of working from home. And here we are 5 years later, she's still working. So anyways, she's a testament of somebody who's in their 70s and is still working full time every day. And now, of course, is reporting back to the office. And so, anywho, I say all of that to say, I hope this new series about the world of work, that people can draw from this, because we're going to be keeping it real, that we know most of us have to work to provide for our needs and to have some type of justifiable or at least minimal lifestyle. You got to have something in your pocket to survive. So for the average American, you're getting up, or you might not get up to go to work. You might have to get up to go to a computer, but you're doing some type of work to gain compensation. And it's my hope that you at least like what you're doing. But we also know that there are many people who are stuck in dead-end jobs, and they are simply there because it's consistent, it's predictable, and it's not stressing them out, and they have other bigger and better things to worry about. So again, the plethora or the spectrum of how we perceive work and what it means to us and how it impacts our identity and our character. It means so many different things to so many different people. But here's one thing before we dive in. What I realize is people are not committed to work like they used to be. They're not. Even in the field of education, I see it this is my 16th year in education, K-12 education. And I can tell you early on in my career, I heard of principals and leaders who were in their districts for literally decades. And when I got into education, the leadership from district office to building level was in and out, in and out, in and out. And even in my current place, there's always changes to leadership. And so I use that as an example of people's commitment to an employer does not hold weight like it used to. It used to be honorable to hold a job for 15, 20 years or to retire from the place that you started working. But unfortunately, that is not the narrative in the song that the Bluebird is singing any longer. It is not uncommon for people in that, that late Gen Z era and the millennials to be moving on quickly. If a better opportunity arises, most people that I know that are in that age gap, they're moving on. So I think we really have to think about that when we're engaging with so many people, because although we may work on the same campus, in the same building, for the same department, that absolutely does not tell me your commitment to what work really means. Are you there for a stepping stone? Are you there for longevity? Are you there because that was the best you could get at this moment? Are you there simply for a resume booster? Are you there because the money is good? Are you there because you need something that's easy that you can just wake up and be stress-free about? I don't know. And even in very competitive professional jobs, people are in spaces for a strategic reason. And often their reason for working ain't gonna ever be disclosed to you. So I've come to realize that even in the field of education, people who have committed their lives to getting a specific degree to do a career, their level of commitment can vary drastically. At the end of the day, it's just a degree, and people want to fly free. So I always was raised, stick with what you know, try to make it work. But that is not the narrative of many people my age and younger, for sure. And so we have to be honest about that. And that is okay. That is okay not to be feeling like you have to be 100% committed to giving yourself to some employer, or to giving yourself to work, or giving yourself to career. There is so much more to life than breaking a sweat and bringing in a paycheck. And I know that sounds Pollyanna and silly to some, but it is so true. Like, you only need water, food, and shelter to live and to be a part of some community, some type of love. Those are like the fundamental principles of survivalship, So at the end of the day, a job in and of itself ain't gonna have you surviving. right? And I always love that whole thought of we've got to find a good work-life balance. Baby, it ain't no such thing as no work-life balance. It's about just balance, because you can't divorce yourself from what you do. It just doesn't happen, And so I learned that quickly as a counselor, like turn it off. When you leave the office, turn that off. Don't worry about it. If you're human, if you care, especially in a field where you're working with people, you're going to carry that with you. You're going to. Now, you have to put boundaries up and know that there are some things you can change and can't change, but you have to be realistic. Like that weight of working with people, especially in traumatic situations, you're going to carry that. So I don't believe in the notion of work-life balance. I believe in balance. And really, as I've continued to grow and evolve, I'm almost thinking it's more of a life-work balance. I'm moving into this new identity or this new perception of, I don't know if we should generalize our life and say that it's just about balance, because again, the common person has to work. This is for my average Susies and Jimmies out there. We got to work. So, but I also want to put things first. And I know to be true that work, you cannot work without life. You can have life without working. And so I was thinking about that even while I was pondering this episode or this new launching of this new series. There's no such thing as work-life balance. If we're going to say that, really it should be, you got to find balance between life and work, not work and life, because you got to be alive to work. Dead things don't work. And so put first things first. But again, these are some of these things that I'm going to dive deep into, because the world has kind of not brainwashed us, but has conditioned us to put work and our identity and our career as kind of like this pillar. And we've got to be careful about doing that, because that will keep you in places you should never be. It will have you leading people in a way that is not authentically you. And it will have you degrading your character trying to make a paycheck. And I'm telling you, there's more to life than that. So that's just a little quick intro of this new series. I was going to do a podcast today, but I think that's a great way to kind of intro this, is that we're going to talk about the world of work. We're going to be mindful that a lot of these conversations are going to be targeted towards 23-ish, 22-year-olds, let's just say young 20s to late 30s, that kind of population, because I know that's a big population of people who are getting into the world of work or in the space where they're potentially have been working for a decade and now they're looking to move to something else. So this new podcast is all about working professionals. How do we really integrate work into our balance as people? And how are we relating that back to mental health, empowerment, and being our best self? And of course, focusing on purpose. So this is going to be an easy series for me, because I love talking about the world of work. As a counselor, I did that all of the time. That was an aspect of our comprehensive health that I love to assess and dive into. So I've always looked at the world of work and know how much weight it carries, whether that's good or bad. It is a part of our identity. And so we'll dive into that a lot more to come. And so I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you've enjoyed this long-winded explanation about this new series. Again, it's going to be called World of Work, and we will figure out some subtitles as we go. So I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Wisdom with the Wise Counselor. Know that I love you, know that I believe in you, and know that whatever you are facing, I have absolutely no doubt that you got this. Did you hear me today? I say that all the time, but did you hear me? I have no doubt that whatever you're facing today, tomorrow, next week, next month, maybe even next year, that you got this. Resiliency is in you. Peace is it within you. You just got to learn how to practice those things and bring those to the forefront. Whatever you need, you've got it in you already. I believe that purpose is pressing out of you. And I believe that there's so much more in you, in me, in the world. And we've just got to position ourselves to let our little light shine. And so again, whatever you're going through, you got this. Thank you for joining me. And I can't wait to dive into this new series on Wisdom with the Wise Counselor. Be well.